say that the Pacific Division is no longer the weakest division in the National Hockey League.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I'm your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me here today as we talk about who got better, who got worse, and who's at the bottom of the barrel of the Pacific Division. But before we dive into that, make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you're getting your podcasts. We are free across the board on your favorite podcast platforms and on YouTube as well. This offseason in general has been very lackluster, I feel like, for people like outside of Kyle Dubas, really. Let's be honest here. The biggest news was him leaving Toronto and then him acquiring Erik Karlsson in Pittsburgh. So, it's a Kyle Dubas summer, but we are going to talk about who got better. And to kick things off, I think we need to start with the Anaheim Ducks. I do think that the Ducks did get better by extending Troy Terry and kind of, making sure that a top scorer on your team is locked up and he will be there for some time. And of course, you need to be able to score to win. I think that is obviously a given there, but I really like what Troy Terry brings to the ice and what he, brings to Anaheim in general. I think that he is just one of those guys that will just grind, and he'll prove himself. And he's not that old, but he's still definitely like a veteran type presence, I guess, in the locker room. I would say that, he can be a really good mentor for a lot of these younger guys coming in. And of course, they did sign Radko Gudas to a 3-year deal. So instead of sitting on people in Florida, he will now be sitting on people 41 nights a season, at least in Anaheim. So we'll be keeping an eye on him, of course, as the Flames face off against Anaheim quite frequently. But I'm definitely interested to see what a healthy Drysdale, McTavish, and Zegras look like. I really think that it's going to be important and pivotal and just so significant for them to have those three pieces that they have kind of envisioned as this, like what they're building around. I really, really want to know what a fully healthy McTavish is capable of. And what about Jamie Drysdale on the blue line? I think that Trevor Zegras is one of those players that is just going to consistently put up high numbers. I want to see this. I want to see where we are in 3 years. Okay. Let's revisit this when we're hosting like the 7th or 8th season of Locked On Flames. But again, a healthy lineup is going to do anyone a world of wonder, right? But I think for the Ducks, this season doesn't mean, like, getting better for them doesn't mean, oh, we're making the playoffs and, we have a stab at things. No, it means crawling out of the bottom of the barrel and not being the laughing stock of the NHL. And that's a hard feat. So I do give them credit there. And let's hope that it actually happens, right? The Seattle Kraken have been very fun to watch. I think that they definitely are or were more of a band of misfits than I think Vegas ever was. I think that with Seattle, general managers really didn't get play as much as they did with Vegas. I think that it was very much straightforward and, okay, these are the guys that are available and this is what, you have to pick from. And obviously the roster has changed a lot since, the 2020, 2021. Was it 2021? Whenever it was, right? It's changed a lot. And I think one of the biggest subtractions they're seeing this year is Ryan Donato. Ryan Donato might not be, an 80-point scorer sort of presence on the ice, but I do think that he was it played a very significant role within the Seattle organization. He was willing to take that team-friendly deal last year, because he wanted to stay, and it kind of felt like he was going to be there for a while. Wasn't the case. I mean, he shipped off to Chicago, and of course Vince Dunn is coming off of a career year, and he brings that offensive boost to the Kraken, which I think again, you need to score to win, but I do think Vince Dunn brings something a little extra, maybe not even flashy, but just special to the ice. And the Kraken have added pieces to this roster that aren't necessarily, again, super flashy, but when you stack them up together, it's a solid team. And I'm really excited to see what they can do this year. I think just like naturally, the more time goes on, the better this team's going to get, the more it's going to figure itself out. And I'm really interested to see what Matty Beniers brings to the ice this season as well. So the Canucks are my sleeper team of the Pacific Division. I think that they have definitely gotten better. I think that Kuzmenko being fully healthy and Thatcher Demo being healthy, they're looking at a good start to things, right? And things were incredibly dysfunctional in Vancouver last year between Bruce Boudreau being strung along, and then everyone was pretty much on the trading block. And then, of course, we talked about yesterday on the show with Brock Besser being a healthy scratch on Hockey Fights Cancer Night and then being slotted in last minute. It was just a lot of off-ice noise, for lack of a better word. And I think that it's just a matter of time before, the additions that they have put together and the subtractions, like Oliver Ekman-Larsson, start bringing this team above the water, and a clean slate is going to be great for this team this year. And I would say that it's going to come down to the Flames and Canucks, like a few games for one of those teams to make the playoffs. But one quick note before we go here on to our next segment. I do think that the LA Kings got better. Of course, they did trade for Pierre Luc Dubois. They extended Kopitar for another year or two. So, they're moving pieces, but building pieces as well. I really don't know what they're going to do about goaltending with David Rittich and Cam Talbot. We've seen how that story goes, and we don't need to talk about it too much. We've seen it, and you're not going to be a true Stanley Cup contender or a playoff team until you figure that out. But I do still think they got better. Coming up next, we are going to talk about who did nothing, who's done nothing, who's gotten worse, and a cup hangover. But before we do that, let's take a quick break here to talk about FanDuel. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and the NFL is giving you a chance to win every week, really, with their new promotion of bonus bets when you pick a Super Bowl champion. When you pick a Super Bowl winner, you get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and start earning more. And start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. And thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. I appreciate it. Make sure you're following the show wherever you get your podcasts. It's always a pleasure to see people still listening, especially during the off season. Who got worse? This feels like a loaded question, and I feel like people are going to take this. They might take it the wrong way. For me, getting worse does not mean it's all out the window. You're not burning your team to the ground. It just means that you didn't make any moves to make me think, oh yeah, you got better. Like Vancouver immediately got better when they bought out Oliver Ekman-Larsson. That's easy. The Kings with PLD. There's just certain things like you look at that and it's just like, okay, of course. But the Oilers to me have not done anything of true significance. I do think it's going to be the 1, 2, 3 with Vegas, Edmonton, and more than likely the Kings as your top 3 there. But it's going to be the Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl show. How their defense has gotten better, but I'm still not entirely sold on it or their goaltending. What do their depth pieces really look like here? I'm not sold on this team, and I don't think many people outside of Edmonton are, or even people in Edmonton really. But what can they do? And with such a flat cap or hard cap rather, what are you supposed to do? Like, you can't go out there and just build a super team. That would be a lot of fun. You already have 2 great pieces starting there with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. And, Evander Kane is still there too. I am interested to see if he gets another good season out of him, staying fully healthy. I don't feel like they have done anything big, or not even big, just anything. And it's kind of the same with the Flames. Like, who am I to talk and, say, yeah, I'm not really worried about them right now. I feel like it's nothing. When the Flames quite literally have done nothing. So it's when your biggest off-season acquisition is Igor Sharangovich. I always want to say Shesterkin. Sharangovich. The crow doesn't taste too good today. But Vegas, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, coming off a Stanley Cup final win. They're going to be hungover in more ways than one, I'm sure. I really, again, there is no update on Robin Lehner. They re-signed Adin Hill. Another, not sticky situation, but a potentially sticky situation to put all your eggs in one basket with him. Is Logan Thompson going to be healthy? I don't know. And then, of course, you have the big question surrounding Mark Stone. Is he going to be healthy? Is he going to be able to play a full season? I am looking forward to, watching Jack Eichel play. I think that anyone would be really excited to see how that goes, but starting to worry about the injuries that these players are facing. Mark Stone, it was revealed that he was playing in the Cup final with a broken wrist. When you delay healing an injury, not only does it take longer to heal, the injury gets worse and more significant, and you're more likely to re-injure it. Not a doctor, but I've seen many sports medicine doctors, and I've talked to them. I talked to Team USA's their orthopedic surgeon, talked to Olympic orthopedic surgeons. It's not, it's part of the game, but it's also a really good way to get yourself into trouble physically and then putting your team in a kind of sucky situation at some point. Like, I'm not blaming Mark Stone. I think that whatever he has going on with his back predates his time in Vegas, or just starts right in Vegas. But I'm concerned, and I wonder if they are just going to LTIR him, or if we're even going to see him this year. I don't know. I think he'll obviously try to play, but these injuries have started to stack up where, much like the Carey Price situation, at some point it's going to be impossible to play, and you're just going to have to, go out quietly on LTIR or actually retire. But coming up next, we are going to wrap up the show here with the bottom of the barrel. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. We are just crawling through the off season. August is going by very fast. In less than a month, camp's going to start. Elias Lindholm's fiance posted that they'll be back in Canada in less than a month. And that's when I realized, oh my God, summer is basically over. The biggest moves really didn't happen during free agency. It was kind of drawn out. And that would be the Sharks trading Erik Karlsson. And Kyle Dubas did what he did. I will say, he is very good at making moves. The big ones, significant, quote unquote, significant ones. But he's never won anything in the NHL. I'm just saying, is that how you measure general manager and president of hockey success? I mean, they're not the ones on the ice. They're putting together what's on the ice and making those decisions. But the Sharks are still going to be bottom feeders. This is a full season without Timo Meier, another season without Brent Burns, and you have Tomas Hertl hanging on by a thread. I can't even imagine how he takes all of this. It's brutal to waste your prime years there, not San Jose physically, but on a bad team. That's hard. It's not fun. But who are they putting out on the ice? Who are they putting out on the ice? They did sign or trade for Anthony Duclair, which I do like. I think that'll be, 25 goals. That's not the 100 points you're looking to make up for. With no Erik Karlsson, it's just like you're throwing all of the points out the window and just down the garbage disposal and throwing bleach on top of it. Like you're not going to be able to make that up. Mike Greer is cleaning up other people's messes and trying to put together not even a competitive team, but just a team. Just a team of players that can go out there and get you through another season. I do think William Eklund makes the team out of camp. He sounds like he's good to go and healthy. So they don't have goaltending either. They traded for a goalie earlier. I really thought that they were going to trade for Dan Vladar. To me, that made the most sense. But I'm not a general manager, clearly. So I know we're talking about the bottom of the barrel here. And so it feels kind of wrong for me to bring up the Flames, but this is a Flames podcast, so, I do have to kind of mention this team. I think that the Flames really are at this point where the Sharks are holding up a ladder, and they're making their way down to the bottom. And that's up to Craig Conroy to figure out. Players can do all that they can to dig themselves out of it, but will they have the supporting cast to do it? Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, Elias Lindholm is heading back to Canada, at least to start the season. At least that's, what I'm gathering from that post. I think that they're still not moving Noah Hanifin until I don't know when. I don't think that they're going to trade Zadorov. I think that they're probably, out of all the 2024 pending UFAs, I would say that Zadorov is the most likely to get extended. The fact that there hasn't been any movement on the Lindholm front is kind of, it's pushing me to believe that he's also signing an extension, and then potentially at the last second he's gonna be like, no, trade me. But again, these are just my gut feelings. There are little to no facts to back any of this up. And I don't know if my gut's really ever been wrong about hockey, except about the Bruins winning Stanley Cup in 2019. And Gaudreau re-signing. But, this is just the frustrating part of the game, the business side of things. It's August 16th. We still don't really have an answer on Backlund and what's going to go on there. there is a very strong possibility that Craig Conroy doesn't get his wish and, either extending or trading a lot of these pending UFAs. He opened his mouth. Now the players hold all the cards. That's just the way it is. And I'm all for players having more leverage and, a good amount of leverage with that. But how are we as a team going to move forward? I say we as if I'm part of the team. How are the Calgary Flames going to move forward here? If they don't trade these players, if they do trade these players walk, multiple UFAs walk. What are you going to do? I really don't think losing Chris Tanev is going to hurt as bad as it would, losing a Noah Hanifin for nothing. But there are so many things that we just have to keep waiting on. And opening night is less than 2 months away. So we'll see. But until then, make sure you're still listening to Locked On Flames wherever you're getting your podcasts. You can follow me on Twitter at JessBelmosto. You can absolutely follow the show's Twitter at LO_FlamesPod. Working on getting more active there. Just follow me on Twitter at JessBelmosto and Nick, my co-host, at Nick Zeraris. We are usually two terminally online human beings, so it goes over well if you are also into niche humor. So thank you, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow as we continue this waiting game through August.